Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. I would like to welcome you all to the Dania Beach City Commission regular meeting. It is Tuesday, August the 28th, and it's 7 o'clock p.m. Call the roll, please.
Mayor James.
Here.
Vice Mayor Harris.
Here.
Commissioner Brandemart.
Here.
Commissioner Grace.
Here.
Commissioner Salvino.
Here.
City Manager Baldwin.
Here.
City Attorney Ansborough.
Here.
Thank you.
Can you please bow your heads for a moment of silence? Thank you, and can you please stand for the pledge? I would like to welcome you all back after our summer recess. Some of us had a lot of fun, some of us did not, like myself.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, I know, I was the ones that did not,
Oh, okay.
just homeworking. The first thing we'll have is presentations and special event approvals. And so we have invited Lacey Foff and Nicole Sharp from Broward County and the Army Corps to come out and give us an update on the proposed beach project headed by the Army Corps of Engineers and Segment 3, Broward County and the Army Corps of Engineers. So we want to welcome you all.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners.
Good
Thanks for having
evening.
us here this evening.
Good evening.
We'll be first discussing
Good
the
morning.
Segment 3 project, which is the county's portion of the beach restoration project, and then the emergency project, which the Corps of Engineers, which will be pretty much undertaking within the next year or so, the immediate response. So currently, the Segment 3 larger project, which has been in the planning stages for about 2 to 3 years right now, we've put a contractor under contract on June 12th, so now we're moving ahead with field studies. So we have to go out and survey the reefs, survey the beach conditions, and we'll use that information to put forward in the permits. So right now we're in the very preliminary stages of it. There's no definitive plan, there's no volumes yet, but we should in the next couple months start seeing them come to fruition. And then we'll be able to start having stakeholder workshops with all the local municipalities and get them on board with what we're hoping to move forward with and start giving estimates of cost, volume, schedule. So once we have that, we'll be able to provide a lot more information, but we have started the initial phases of field work, which can be brought into the permitting and federal planning process. But in the interim, in response to Hurricane Irma, we have the Corps of Engineers coming in with some of the post-storm funding that came through the Jacksonville District, and they'll be placing sand on our beaches in the immediate future as a smaller Band-Aid until we can do the larger project.
Thank you all. Again, I'm Lacey Foff. I'm project manager for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And like Nicole said, we work hand in hand. They're working on the full project. We are also working pretty much doing the same thing. We're sharing work. We're working together. But because we were approved, lucky enough to be approved for what we call supplemental funding, and this is funding that is 100% federal. So usually when we partner with counties or cities, there's a cost share involved. Because these are emergency funds from Hurricane Irma, some were from Matthew, this will be at 100% federal cost. So I'm going to tell you a little bit today about what we're doing. Because this is an emergency, we need to do this quickly. And in order for us to do this quickly, we need to ask for your help and consideration in moving this along. So let me figure this out here. Okay, so a little bit about this Segment 2 project. So what I have now is the current plan, and that's what we're looking to do this year. We are doing what we call a truck haul project, which means we ship sand from an upland mine and place it on the beach at different locations, and I'll go through a map as to where we're going to access. This was done north of here in Segment 2 in 2013 by the Corps of Engineers, and then again in 2015-16 by Broward County, and very successful. The sand that we get is good quality sand, not a lot of fines. It's easy to maneuver. It worked well with the high traffic conditions with a lot of development, so it was good success there. So again, I have construction type as a truck haul. We're going to place it on the beach, and it's above the mean high water level, which means it will not go out into the water. When we're done, we're not going to make the beach fatter, but we will put more sand into the system, and it will give a more gradual slope. You won't see the escarpments like you see now, so it'll be a better product. We're getting the full, what I'll say, fatter beaches in the permanent plan. Right now, we're looking at 125,000 cubic yards, and that is stretching from the full project, which is in the state park north of here into Hollywood and Hallandale. We are restricted to be able to construct only in November through April. That's why we're in a hurry. We're trying to beat the clock to be able to get out there before the April time period goes. So that means we would advertise for a contract in October of 2018. Obviously, we're busy right now. Award at the end of this year, and construction would start in January. So we must be complete by April the 20th. April the 30th, to be able to get off the beach, so turtle season would kick in. Now, the future plan, that's what Nicole talked a little bit about, and that's where we want to do the full project, and it is still under final approval up at our headquarters level, and we are targeting construction in 2020. So stop me with any questions if you have them.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
If you can go back to the other slide, or maybe it wasn't on, okay, completed by April the 30th. Can you go over the schedule, or if it's in here, I'm not sure if it's in your staff report, on the, what time different parts of the beach will be closed and will not be able to be accessed by our tourists and our residents and everyone that's visiting us?
That is what the contractor would set up once they get under contract. We will put conditions in the contract to say that there is only a certain portion may be closed at one time, and we will work with you all on that.
Okay.
But as far as when they're going to place where, we wait for the contractor to get on board, because production rates are different for each contractor. The way they approach the project could be different.
Okay.
So we wait to work with them on that.
Okay.
All right, so what do we need? And this would be, because this is a project that we partner with Broward County, this is what we would ask Broward County for, and Broward County would in turn ask for your help with this, is real estate access. We need easements to put the sand on the beach. Nicole actually did her homework. It looks like we're pretty good, that easements are available. We need access. I know that we walked the beach together, and we talked about different areas where trucks could come on and off the beach.
Sure.
We're working on the legality of what the language needs to look like to make sure that we have that. We would also need staging areas, possibly in the park, but that is usually something that the contractor would reach out directly to the city to coordinate, but you could set apart an area, possibly with cones or fencing, so they'd have a place to work. So another thing is communication, especially in these high residential areas. This is the season where you get an influx of tourists, that communication is the key. Y'all have the best ear to the ground. We're happy to field calls and answer questions, but you know your constituents and what is important to them, so it's very helpful if y'all help us communicating to them any press releases or talking to folks. All right, so here's the plan, and I'm sorry, the scale of this is pretty tough. You can see the pier is right here, and if you see the line, the black line with the little triangles that go down, that is where the sand placement starts, okay? And I put big green arrows to say those are areas where we desire to have access for our contractors to get onto the beach. And I can share these with you. I can email this to y'all so you can see this a little bit better. And going down the beach and over at the southernmost green arrow, I believe, is where it goes into the city of Hollywood. But above there, that would all be beach placement, and there would be the access needed right along the beach. I forgot, there's a building right there. It was right beside there. I forgot the name of the building. But
Was it, was it a residential building, or are you
No,
talking
no, no,
about the
buil-
restaurant?
I think, not the restaurant, it was south of the restaurant. There was a some municipal
The
building, I'm
residential
sorry.
building is in Hollywood? What is it called? The
No,
condominium?
no, we were still at the park.
That's in Hollywood, though.
It's,
The
restrooms.
The restrooms, that building.
Okay.
I knew it was a municipal building. Sorry, I didn't know what was in there. So there was another access needed at the south, but that's in Hollywood, so we would reach out to them for that.
Okay.
So there would be also staging areas needed in the park, like I said. It doesn't necessarily have to be a set place, but if the contractor could coordinate with you on that. So just to be forthcoming, it's a wonderful gift that we have funds that we're able to put towards this to get the necessary flood risk reduction to your city, but there's going to be some challenges while construction is going on. Because this is highly residential, it's hard for us because there's limited construction access, so it takes a little bit longer. We have to work within things. There could be some challenges with timing, again, because it's tourist season, so we just ask for everyone's patience and understanding. What to expect. If you can see right here, here's some pictures of the segment 2 placement that we have, and you see there's trucks along there, along the road, there's increased traffic. You will expect to see some barricades, some traffic delays. We have to close periodic accesses. It's usually not more than 1 or 2 at a time. And then there will be increased noise. There will be daytime construction only, and we try to limit the beach closings.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
You said there will only be daytime construction. Will these trucks be placed on the beach at night, or where will the trucks be? Only for safety reasons, if there's no security out there to watch.
Sure. And the contractor is completely responsible for all security of his equipment.
Okay.
So he would get a secure site. He would
Okay.
provide some kind of secure site, and that would be his responsibility, his or her responsibility to do
Got
so.
it.
So I guess the point I want to make, construction is complicated and communication is the key. So we hope to work with you in the future and helping this go smoothly. But like we said, it's an emergency, so we have to do it fast. So that's all I have, if anybody has any questions.
Yes. When will you know if it is approved and when you can start this project?
The project is approved, so it is moving forward. We will know the definite date after the contract is awarded, which is currently scheduled for December 2018, so the end of this year. So we have, everything is there to move forward with this.
So the end of this year, we'll
We'll
get
know
dates, and we'll only have 4 months to get it done.
that you will, it will be moving forward. So as far as when they would be constructing in Dania Beach, we would know that in January.
Okay, and what happens if it's not done in the time, if April comes and they haven't finished?
Well, I'm going to speak from experience for the Segment 2 project. We hauled about 650,000 cubic yards. In this project, we're estimating between 125,000 and 150,000 cubic yards. From January to April 30th, we placed 500,000, so 500,000 cubic yards. So the contractors are capable of hitting about 3,000 to 5,000 cubic yards per day. So based upon the production rates from industry, we think that they have sufficient amount of time to complete it before April 30th.
Okay.
And the resource agencies, Southern Broward County has a lot fewer nesting sea turtles in the beginning of the season, so they could give us a few weeks into May potentially, and that's something we would work with them if we note in April we're coming up a little bit short, and it's been historically granted within this project area and communities in Southeast Florida.
Okay.
And if something happened and all weather delays and everything happened, we could also pause for turtle season and come back again the following year.
Okay, Commissioner Salvino?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of questions. I'll shoot them all at once, and you can fire away at the answers. I know that we always have a problem right after we put sand on there, like we end up with the sand washing away. That's number one. Number two, is there any way that we're ever going to be able to create something that's not going to cause the sand to wash away? The mine sand that you're using, I understand, is running low or running out, and that there's going to be a shortage of that as well. And then north of the jetties on Fort Lauderdale, they were supposed to be able to build a pit there that you were going to be able to take the sand out of there and truck it out of there. Can you tell me about those items, please?
Yeah, these are all excellent questions that Nicole can answer very well. Yeah.
So first, erosion is a natural process. We can't prevent it from happening. We can't prevent the storms. We can't prevent areas from eroding a little bit more or a little bit less than others. So it's a process we have to learn to live with, but we can mitigate it. So that's why we're placing the sand on the beach. So as much as I'd love to say we can prevent erosion completely, as long as there's hurricane storms, we just can't stop it. As for your question in regards to the upland sand mines, offshore we are definitely essentially out of sand in Broward County. However, the upland sand mines have 30 to 100 years of sand in them.
Okay.
And there's other mines coming online daily, so there's definitely plenty of upland sand resources within central and northern Florida, and also the west coast of Florida on historic sand ridges. So we're fine there. And sand bypass projects. So you are correct. We are in the permitting stages of sand bypass. We've had a state permit now for 2 years. However, the federal other side of the house regulatory permit that we have to get our federal permit through, it is taking some time because we have to go through National Marine Fisheries Service, and they have concerns over potential impacts to about 4 acres of protected endangered species of coral offshore. So we've been working with them essentially since August of 2014 to reassure them that we are not going to impact these corals. And it's a very protected subset in the government that we've engaged Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz to try to help us. And things are just moving a little bit slower than we'd like right now. So again, if you want to reach out on our behalf to try to give it a little bit of push, we'd appreciate it. But until we get this federal permit, we can't put the offshore pit of sand just north of the jetties in Fort Lauderdale. But once we get the permit and everything online, then we'll have a systematic process in place. So about every 3 years,
Right.
We'd have a dredge come in and take that sand and place it along the southern park beach there. So it'll help restore that flow of sand eventually.
So it'll be 3 years after the permit is approved?
Well, so we have to construct the project first, and we're digging through a lot of very hard rock and rubble. So that's not beach-compatible material we can place on the beach. So we have to dig the hole and essentially let
for
the
it to
sand
fill.
come in over 3 years, and then once it's finally filled up, we can place the sand on the
Right,
beach.
I guess what I'm asking is, when does the 3 years start?
Whenever the hole gets dug.
Okay.
So it's,
no
we
time
can't
soon.
do any action or contracting
Right.
until we have
To
this,
finish
the federal
To
permit.
finish my question on that, the natural flow coming out without the jetties interrupting would continually fill the hole as you dug it out, and then they would be transported every 3 years, is what you're saying, to fill the hole.
Correct.
The one question on when the sand gets brought out, when it gets sucked out with the waves and so on, I've noticed lately, because the water's been pretty decent, it seems like it's building back up again. Is there a natural flow that it pushes back up with the waves back on the beach?
Yes, it's called the summer-winter profiles, although it doesn't follow the seasons. When you have calmer weather events, the slow waves slowly push the sand back on the beach. And then when you have very large wave events, such as a nor'easter or hurricane, it takes that sand offshore to a sandbar where it waits until the smaller waves to slowly push it back ashore again. So we've had a lot of calm, really nice weather, so that sand is slowly moving back ashore and having the natural recovery process occur.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Does this make that's a big job, especially when I'm thinking about the park, about the people that buy permits to get resident able to use down the beach down there. I'm thinking about the restaurant, I'm thinking about the grill, I'm thinking about the Renaissance, I'm thinking about your in and out. I watched this being done. I watched it being done with the dredging one time in my life, that's all. It was amazing. But does it add width to our beach? I'm not meaning width on shoreline, I'm talking about width from the shore to the water. Does it give us more beach is what I'm getting at? Or are we just putting sand there so when a bad storm comes, that puts it back up in our street again? Especially because we are raising our street in Phase 3 of the beach program. Now, if I'm understanding this right, if I'm raising the street in Phase 3 and you're raising the sand, I want to know, is it going to give me a wider beach out, or am I still small?
For the larger project that I've been discussing and that we're also waiting to see if there's funding for through a supplemental bill, that will widen the beach substantially. The smaller project that we're talking about that will occur, it'll heighten it and it'll make the beach wider at the, not wider, higher at the water line. So it adds a little bit more of protective feature and prevents the run-up and the higher tides from flooding the back beach area a little bit
You
more
do
easily.
agree that when you make it higher, closer to the water, it only takes a nor'easter to put it back again? To me, it seems like a never-ending problem. You put dirt in, you take dirt out. You put dirt in, you put it in the street. Take it out of the street, inconvenience to people. I'm looking for something that's a wall that protects it all the time, and it doesn't exist, does it?
Yeah, with a whole lot of money.
Well,
A
but-
whole lot of money.
but
You know what I mean? I don't want to throw sand after sand or money after money, especially when we raise the street like we're supposed to do in Phase 3.
I believe Phase 3 also contains a seawall, if I'm correct.
That's right. A
Yes.
seawall and raises the parking lot.
But that,
And
I was just gonna
actually
say, but that
moves the beach a
seawall
little bit
is
more
up
to the
high,
west.
right, on the street. I don't know, it's a lot to think about.
So, yes, and, you know, there are other benefits to beaches such as recreation.
Can you
and-
speak in the mic first?
Oh, I'm sorry, there's other benefits to beaches such as recreation that I know that a lot of residents use. So there are other alternatives to providing flood risk reduction, but if the beach is no longer there, there's no recreation there.
Well, anyone else have any questions? I just want to thank you all for, especially the walkthrough and educating me more on the beach and how everything works, and coming over here to discuss this with our residents who are here, because a lot of them have questions and they ask us questions and we don't know all the correct terminology and things to tell them. And so really appreciate you coming down and briefing us with this project.
Thank you for your partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Proclamations, National Voters Registration Day. As you all know, this is the primaries today, and Vice Mayor Bill Harris is going to read parts of the proclamation.
The Office of the Mayor from the City of Dania Beach, the proclamation is basically, in the interest of time, that I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just to let you know that the deadline for registering for the general election in 2018 is October the 9th. So if you know anyone who's not registered, who hasn't registered, a young person maybe voting for the first time, get them to register. I think it's our plan to have several registration events here at City Hall where we can get more people registered. We, as Americans, have to take seriously our responsibility to make our voices heard in the next election cycle. We encourage all citizens eligible to register to vote to do so and to vote in the 2018 election. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Dania Beach City Commission, I,
Really?
Tamara James.
Tamara James.
Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, do hereby proclaim this as National Voter Registration Day, September 25th, 2018, and it's your duty to vote. So I please, if you please, everybody register and vote on November the 8th. The 6th.
Thanks, Vice Mayor.
You're gonna be 2 days late.
I know,
Yeah.
ain't nobody going to vote on the 8th.
Thank you. Please register to vote.
Thank you, thank you. Voting is indeed very important, and thank you, Vice Mayor, for that proclamation. Who gets this? Y'all? All right. I'm sorry, Commissioner Grace.
I just want to stress to you that I was at the 12 polling places that we have in the city of Dania Beach. I volunteered 7 hours this morning, passing out water, food to those people that volunteered their times, to the candidates that are running for office. And if you didn't vote, shame on you. I'm serious when I say that. Most of the polling places were very slow. We had 2 that were really flourished. The Lions Club was doing exceptionally well. Regardless to what you think about the political screen, it starts locally. And if you don't value your taxes, your millage rates, your water bill, your electric bill, the utilities, then you are not protecting your family as you should. And this is all part of the voting cycle. So I was disappointed that we had a low turnout, but I'm hoping that it's because most of you early voted or you did absentees. And so our prediction was probably about 37%, and that's going high. I don't think it's going to get to 37%. But one of the things that was asked of me, and I'm going to ask the city manager to take a look at this, is that I was asked whether the city of Dania Beach can be a early voting polling place for November 6th. There was a lot of chaos at the Hollywood Library, and people were dissatisfied with the way it was ran. And if you can get with Brenda Snipes and her people, and of course yourself and staff, and see whether we can move one of the early voting sites to the city of Dania Beach here at City Hall.
Okay.
We had it once.
Vice Mayor?
I received the same call from some of the candidates that the atmosphere at the Hollywood Branch Library was not conducive to grassroots campaigning. So if we could maybe look at either Frost Park or the City Hall here, because City Hall, we have the parking garage, we certainly have the space and the location, so I'm not sure what is involved in that, but we should definitely look at it and get going on that.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yeah, I believe we did have it here at one time, and I can't remember the reason why they then took us out of the mix, if anybody knows.
I don't know.
But we did, we had it right here at City Hall.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sorry. Citizens' comments. When you are called, please state your name and address for the record. And you will have 3 minutes. Is the timer? And your timer's up there. Patricia Chuckerman. Pat Chuckerman is what I know you as. Please state your name and address for the record.
Patricia Chuckerman, 545 Southeast 4th Court, Dania Beach. So I'm here to speak about vacation rentals. I've taken the liberty to print out a copy of the ordinance that was passed in 2011, and I've highlighted some of the concerns that we have about it. After speaking with several of my neighbors who are going through just really bad situations, I understand right now we have 177 Airbnb, VRBO, which is vacation rental by owner, HomeAway in Dania Beach. So Dania Beach is not collecting any money. These people are not applying for licenses. I had an Airbnb across the street from me. I don't think he's operating as an Airbnb anymore, although I'm not sure. What I'm requesting from the commissioners is to set up a workshop with the city of Fort Lauderdale to find out how they are implementing their laws and rules and how they're funding it. So I'm going to pass each one of it out just in case anybody on the dais is not familiar with the ordinance that was passed. And I'm really hoping for a public workshop. I know there are a lot of residents in the city of Dania Beach that are very concerned about this issue. And I think we need to help them understand and see what we can do about it before the state takes away all the rights of the municipalities. Thank you for your time.
As you're passing that out, I guess I could speak. I know that Mr. Shandarosa, he's been up here a bunch of times. He's in the hospital. I'm sorry to hear that. About Airbnbs, and he's also requested to have a workshop. I was trying to wait until the budget because we have so many meetings and workshops dealing with the budget and the CRA and everything else. I was trying to wait until that happened or was passed before we do an additional workshop. But as far as getting information on how the City of Fort Lauderdale is doing that, I think our city manager could probably get information on if the City of Fort Lauderdale has a handle on Airbnb and things that are going on. I have it. You want me? I can have two. You want me? So I'll ask the city manager to look into and seeing how neighboring cities are handling it, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. All right. Vice Mayor.
Several of us at the League of Cities last week attended a disruptive technology seminar where did I talk to you about that? And just today I met with a really high-tech person that was talking in a language way over my head about a way that we can, you just mentioned that we have 175 Airbnb rentals.
177.
Okay. That's on their website, but we don't have the exact addresses for each one of those.
There is a company that has software
Okay.
that can go into the back door and get all those addresses.
And that's exactly what we were talking with Scott today about that. But there is a way to do that, but to do that, there is a fee. So we have to have the workshop to see what the fees are, because we can extract that information from Airbnb, HomeAway, VRBO, Red Week, and there's a new one called Stay Here, I believe.
Great.
So there's more than just a few now, but the technology is in development. Orlando talked about it, Fort Lauderdale talked about it when we were there that morning, so it's a work in progress. So a workshop is warranted sometime in the near future.
Commissioner Salvino.
Vice Mayor pretty much covered what I was going to say. When we were at the Leagues of Cities that we addressed, there was a topic on Wednesday morning before the Leagues of Cities started. We were there for this exact situation. It was like a 5-hour meeting, and there's a lot of problems with making certain rules because state rule is on it, and that's why you see those signs down there that says home rule. That's why we have to work on that, because there's a lot of things that we have to do, and we have to go through the city attorney to make sure we don't violate any of those rules, because it could create a problem. But the workshop can create just like you said, we can start, signing them up and charging fees and stuff like that. But the regulating them is going to be a little tougher than we would like. But it'll come out in the workshop what the rules are.
So the enforcement of it and the actual cost of the enforcement of it is really important for us to find out.
That's right.
Commissioner Brandon Marty.
Yeah, but it don't go that way. Oh, I wrote it all out.
Uh-oh.
It's called www.hostcompliance.com. The man is the one that did the presentation at our meeting. They are the world's largest compliance monitoring system for Airbnbs. Okay. The disruptive technology, which we did go, the local panelists on this subject was Kyle Shepard of Orlando, Lee Feldman of Fort Lauderdale, and Cookie Kennedy, mayor of Indian Rocks Beach. They were the ones that were going to be, you asked the questions, they made the presentation. And out of a whole room full of 800 people, I was the only one that raised my hand, and that was to Lee Feldman. And at first, when I beeped to talk to him, I said, my question is going to be directed directly to you, Mr. Feldman, because he's the closest. I said, everything you're talking about sounds wonderful, but when you have a commission meeting, do you still get people that come up and complain? His answer was, do I have to answer these questions? I said, yes, you do, because you are the panelist. He answered it, and his answer was, yes. The topic was to discuss short-term rentals, effects and solutions, and policies implemented. Also, steps other states have taken, Florida data and statistics and solutions and tools. Fort Lauderdale has registered 602 Airbnbs. The rules of his operation was proof of registration with the state, copy of your city ordinance, noise, parking, garbage pickup, meet housing code of city, smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, and he went on and on. Rules posted in these homes, a sync emergency contact with a property manager that must be able to be contacted 24/7. And he's going on. This is loved. I want you to know, people, these Airbnbs are loved. They're not hated. And I'm going to tell you why. They took a survey of tourists. Tourists will not even be bothered going to a city that doesn't have Uber or Airbnbs. Florida Department, I asked Mr. Feldman how he is enforcing all these rules. Here it is. Are you ready? 2 men are assigned to check on these rentals. I asked him if he had a line item in his budget to pay for these positions. He stated that they're paid for with the money that is collected when a person that's running an Airbnb registers. So the registration fee would pay for 2 gentlemen. That's how they do it. I told him, this all sounds great, but at your commission meeting, are they still complaining? He said, definitely they are. An important statistic, 275,000 rental units are in South Florida. All right?
Wow.
275,000, of which 49% are in homes. Why? Because they put a name with this. It's called pillow versus whatever. So that's what they're saying. It's called pillow versus residence. That's the name the league gave it. Because there are more rooms available in homes than there are in hotels, and that includes Las Vegas.
And they're less expensive.
You're going to hear this one, boy. I'm telling you, because I was on the phone today for hours. Survey was also taken regarding tourists. When you go on a vacation, would you go to a city that had ride-sharing, Uber, Lyft? 66% of the people surveyed says yes. Airbnb, 62% of the people said, yeah, because when we take our family on vacation, we're going to save money and spend it on good things. Then he asked us a question there. Where does an overnight visitor sleep in your community? Well, tell me, where does an overnight visitor sleep in your community? When hotels want rates paid for up front, they want to know how many nights. There are more bedrooms in a house than there are hotel rooms. And all of this stuff, it really, really bothered me a lot because I'm thinking, I'm fighting a bad thing here. 82% of Florida's residential short-term rentals are concentrated only in 15 counties. 15 counties, all right? Broward has 7,537. Osceola has 31,966. So it's not a trend that's falling apart. It's a trend that's on the rise. It's really a trend on the rise. Palm Beach, this will get you. It has 4,281, and yet Miami-Dade has 12,896. That's your statistics. Only 7% of are room rentals. The 49% are in homes.
So it's also hurting the revenue of the hotels.
Absolutely. But the best way to regulate housing availability, only allow permanent residents to operate short-term rentals. Neighborhood preservation, set neighborhood quotas. I didn't even know about that. And ban signs. I didn't even know they could put up a sign about what they are unless they probably joined and told them and paid a registration fee. Protect the quality of life, because if you don't, your town is going to become a transient community. That's it, just a transient community. Require adequate parking and garbage disposal. Require hosts to post noise requirements. Require a local contact person. Require physical safety and habit inspectors. How do you enforce the rules? Online registration requiring backup documents. Address identification with complete address identification information and screenshots. Registration compliance monitoring. Rental activity, ongoing monitoring listings for signs of rental activity. That makes it easier to identify people that are tax underpaying. You follow me on that one there? And short-term underreporting taxes using standard form letters. Dedicate a short term, and this is good for our police officers, because we don't need them with so many calls on these short-term rentals. Dedicate a short-term rental complaint hotline, 24/7, and online forms for neighbors to report non-emergency short-term rentals. And the company that is the world's largest is willing to come here and explain it all to you. And that is www.hostcompliance.com. They are the largest in the world. They have 135 government entities, including 18 cities and communities. They help governments draft and adopt enforceable, because I think Tom will tell you there's nothing very enforceable right now. Enforceable short-term rental issue regulations. And his name is Ulrich Binzer, and I even have his phone number. So hopefully that helped you all to see that it's a trend that's on the way up, not on the way down and out.
So could we get that gentleman to come to our
Well, I was
workshop?
going to ask, in fact, I was just talking with the commissioner there, ask if sometime, when, like the mayor says, right now our plate is a little bit full, and we'd like to get through what we do have. Am I right, Mayor? And then I think we should contact this Binzer at hostcompliance.com and ask him to come here. We don't need a workshop. You need the workshop. And I'll tell you why. You need the workshop to be educated on how they're going to get away with this, how wonderful it is. That's what they're teaching us at the League of Cities. They're not saying it's a bad thing. They're saying if you do it the right way, it's a good thing. That's how your tourists will come to your city.
And how many of them are living across the street from one?
None.
Like
Probably-
me.
Probably
We're
none
gonna
of
have
them,
to
but the
finish
lady
this
living
setup.
across the street from you has Airbnb, and she's making $199 a night.
So we're gonna finish
it.
this at a different time, at a workshop.
Yeah.
Thank
it's
you.
Or
long.
we're gonna get
Thank
into,
you.
looking into it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Commissioner Grace, you forgot, I forgot my, I don't know what's going on.
Mr. Binzer.
David Simonetta?
Great report, Chicky.
Hello, David Simonetta, 4641 Southwest 42nd Avenue. Hello, everybody.
How you doing?
Good evening. I wanted to say thank you for adding the straw ordinance to the, tonight, by the way. I wanted to bring something to your attention, and I read something about an article about the city is hiring somebody to clean the beaches, the actual company that's cleaning the beaches to dig the seaweed under the sand. Has that been
It's out for
awarded?
bid. It's out for bid.
Okay, I was hoping that, not to add something additional onto your plate, but what I'm finding every Saturday when my wife and I clean the beach is that there's small bits of plastic about this big, and when the tractor goes over them, it breaks them up into smaller pieces, and there's then microplastics. And I'm asking if the bid could include somebody going along and cleaning the beach and picking up the plastic before it's dug underneath the sand. Does that make sense to everybody?
The bid is already out. That's something that we have a new Parks and Recreation Director will be introducing.
We may be able to add something to it and require it.
It just
We'll-
makes
we'll look
sense,
at
that's
it.
all. Just throw it out there.
So I'm going to introduce everyone to our new Parks Director, Eric Brown. Raise your hand, stand up. This is Mr. Eric Brown. He brings to us 31 years of experience from the city of Hollywood, and we want to welcome him to the city of Dania Beach and to our commission meeting. So anything that you have in regards to the seaweed and how it's being planted in the ground and all of the other stuff, it would go through Mr. Brown.
Okay, great. And I wanted to just say one thing, Commissioner Brandy Mark. There was actually, if you look in Europe, there's quite a few places that actually have. There's I'm having a senior moment here.
That's okay. I have it every day.
There's jetties. There's actual round jetties that go out and naturally build a beach. That's the long-term solution.
Yes.
Okay, but it's very, very expensive, and I think that is the long-term solution, by the
You
way.
need
So
a
just
long-term.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine Uden? Uden? Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Catherine Uden, 1120 Lion Tree Street, Hollywood, Florida. I'm the current chair of Surfrider Foundation Broward chapter. Thank you for putting the plastic ordinance on the meeting agenda and making another important move to protect our environment. What difference is one plastic straw going to make? Said 330 million people. Most people know about the devastating effects of plastic in our oceans, and people will often say, well, if you just throw the straw in the trash can where it belongs, there wouldn't be a problem. The problem is not only that straws sometimes intentionally or accidentally end up in the water inside the stomachs of wildlife, but we also have major recycling issues in Broward County, in our state, and in our nation. Much of what we put in the recycling bin doesn't actually get recycled. Straws are not recycled, they get buried in landfills. Plastic is made from fossil fuels, and we use a lot of plastic. Right now, our administration wants to open our waters to seismic airgun blasting and offshore drilling. Do we really need more oil? Whether you believe we need to keep drilling and spilling depends on our transition to low carbon energy and also on social factors such as concern for the polluting effects of petroleum-based plastics. Wind and solar is expanding, and cities, states, and entire nations are moving away from single-use plastics. According to the International Energy Agency, plastics will drive about 25% of oil demand by 2023, unless we decrease our use of plastics. Unless we decrease our use of plastics. What is one really easy plastic to eliminate? Straws. Sometimes people get a piece of plastic in their drink whether they want to or not. That happens to me at restaurants all the time. I have to tell them I don't want a straw as soon as I sit down. Our society has become that wasteful. Luckily, word is spreading about the polluting effects of plastics, and with China turning away our world's plastic as of January 2018, we're finally starting to realize that we need to reduce our consumption. The UK is set to ban all plastics and single-use plastics. The Bahamas will ban single-use plastics by 2020. Costa Rica will eradicate single-use plastics by 2021. And what did Florida do? They banned cities from being able to ban plastic bags and foam. However, they haven't taken away our right to ban plastic straws yet. They tried to this past winter, but they did not succeed, talking about home rule. They will probably try again next legislative season, which is why it's so important for cities to do it now. So thank you for making this move to protect our environment, our oceans, and our marine life. I would ask that plastics include any bioplastics or compostable plastics which do not marine degrade and would have to be put in an industrial composter to properly decompose. I urge everyone to reduce, refuse, and reuse. Every little bit makes a difference. For more information, go to surfrider.org. Thank you for David and the Dania Beach Sustainability Board for bringing this forward. And there are many different types of straws that can be used: glass, bamboo, paper, steel, silicone. So reduce, reuse, refuse.
Thank you. Patricia Favor. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Patricia Favor, 200 Southeast Fifth Avenue, Dania Beach. So, yesterday, I live in a condo, and when I first moved there, I kept calling Dania Beach to find out about recycling, and they told me, oh, you just put it all in the one bin, and they'll separate it. And I thought that seemed odd, but I did it, and I would mark my bags, and I'm a little nuts. But the bottom line is that my condo association finally started to recycle, and we had an account with Republic, I think. Anyways, yesterday, my condo did away with recycling. And so and the way that we get around it is because they say we're a commercial enterprise. But we need to be recycling, and we need to be recycling and keeping the recycling clean so that it will indeed get recycled. So I went to City Hall today to find out if we had a central location where people that don't have it picked up from the city could come and bring their recycling, and we don't. And I would like us to consider creating something that a recycling center for all the condos and the people that need to recycle because this is what we do. And if there is any way, shape, or form that I could be instrumental in helping that happen and move it forward, I would be delighted, and hopefully you can take it into consideration. And the second thing I want to say is the Army Corps of Engineers, historically, in the state of Florida, most things that they're involved with have not served our state well. So before we partner up with them, I mean, this looks like a gift that they're giving us, and we hate to turn away a gift, but we should also make sure that the gift doesn't have any strings attached, along with what you were saying. So get us a recycling center and be careful with the Army Corps of Engineers, and thank you for your time.
I would venture off to advise you to go to one of the Green Advisory Board meetings and maybe get with them and, excuse me? Oh, Pat Chuckerman is the chair of the Green Advisory Board, and to get with them and to maybe come to us with some type of a presentation or a recommendation, of something that is feasible, or just some ideas of what you all would like to see.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chelsea Krebs.
Just a couple.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Captain Chelsea Krebs, 1548 Southeast 12th Court, Fort Lauderdale. I'm a resident of Fort Lauderdale, but as a kayaker, I count on Dania Beach for your beautiful and I think
Aw.
superior waterways in many ways.
you.
And that's why I'm here tonight to support your proposed ban on the plastic drinking straws. For a long time, I've gone to restaurants and bars, and I always ask my server, no straw, please. But now whole cities like Seattle and San Francisco, companies like Starbucks and American Airlines. I read today that Queen Elizabeth are banning plastic straws altogether just because they're so bad for the environment. I see the effects of plastic straws as a volunteer at the South Florida Wildlife Center and as a Parks Department employee. Mostly I see them at the beach when I'm kayaking. And I know a single straw doesn't seem so bad, but thousands of them that end up in the storm drains and in the ocean are serious pollution. And as you know, it only takes one to inflict terrible suffering on animals, like the sea turtle on YouTube. You've seen him with the straw in his nose. And I'm not suggesting that you ban straws because people like drinking from straws. I do. But businesses can just as easily use paper straws that biodegrade. An item that you only use once and for a few minutes and then throw away doesn't need to be made of plastic that's going to last for years and years. So switching from plastic straws to paper ones is a tiny change that would make such a huge difference. So I hope you'll vote to ban plastic straws here in Dania Beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's it. Public safety reports.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners.
Good
Welcome
evening.
back. Our crime trends continue to be unlocked vehicles. Southeast section and northeast section being the highest numbers. They're not that high. We did arrest a suspect over the weekend, a known suspect that we've arrested numerous times for burglary and theft, also a known drug user, for walking around the streets around 1:30 in the morning. So we have a good feeling that she was responsible for the burglaries recently. We've also noticed a couple thefts taking place in the morning by the pier of fishing reels and rods. So we've set up an operation over there. We had a known suspect as well break into the storage room at the Holiday Inn on Federal Highway, took a gas-powered blower, a piece of lawn equipment. There's a warrant in the system for him, and we're just waiting for him to pop up. Another crime trend is unlocked vehicles with the key fob inside. That's easy stolen vehicle right there. We recovered one in Tamarack the other morning. 4 people were inside the vehicle. The suspect admitted he was a drug user, the driver of the vehicle, and that he had just purchased it in Pompano Beach for $30.
Wow.
So if it's an easy target, key fob, and an unlocked vehicle, why not sell it at a good price? Recently, in response to several complaints from residents about Chesterbird Park, we worked with the city manager, Parks and Rec, and Public Services to address the lighting, trees being trimmed along the gate as well as in the park, an increase in signage and trespass signs, change the fencing. Current fencing is too easy to climb over there. We're looking at securing and locking down benches and securing and locking the gates at night. So a lot of these take a little time, but we're holding roll calls in the morning hours and at night. We made several arrests for ordinance violations over there, and we're getting a good response back from the community in that area. Don't forget, October 31st is when BSO holds their National Night Out in conjunction with Parks and Rec and the annual Fall Festival. October 31st, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. That concludes my report. Does anybody have any issues?
I do. I understand that Parks and Rec, they hire detail for the football games that happen at CW Thomas Park, and I know I spoke with you about adding, just making sure that some of your officers are showing their face during practices, because we've had a few instances with individuals and that we don't want staff to have to interact with them. However, I will ask, when we are having those games, that you send someone that can relate to the people in that area and that are not looking to just ticket or nitpick with the people that are living there, more so to maybe educate them, because I know a couple of weeks ago there was an incident, and I just feel like it could have been it could have been handled in a way to where there wasn't an arrest and there wasn't that type of situation with a little more communication with officers that really can relate to the area that they're serving and are not looking to just have their binoculars on and look for any little small violation to arrest someone, because in essence everyone is out there to see these kids play football, and the last thing we want to see is 1 million police officers in a heightened situation that could have been avoided. So I just ask that we continue to have community policing, especially during these type of events and in these areas, so we can strengthen the relationship we have between the police officers and our community. Commissioner Grace.
On the other hand, I certainly want to thank you and thank the city manager for stepping up the security that we've been having at the football games. I also want to thank you for having police officers come when they are having practice. It is very disheartening for me to have the children practicing on one end and them shooting dice on the other end. So I truly appreciate the presence. We have to work together as a community to make sure that we keep our children safe. There is too much happening today for us not to be on top of this. And it's not as though this is a problem that started yesterday. I've been complaining about this for at least 10 years now, and I'm just getting some type of relief in the last year. So I understand what the mayor is saying, and she is correct. We need to respect each other when we're doing these type of things. But some of these people are repeated offenders that does it often.
No, I'm with you.
And they get away with it, you know, and they have lack of respect for my children. Those children are our future leaders, and I don't want them to look at the people on the other end as being their leaders when I know that we can do a lot better. I truly do. These are bright, energetic young people that you don't want to fall in the hands of the people that have no rights, not even trying to restore their rights. And we have been going through this with Bold Justice, your boss, and along with other law enforcement and judges and state representatives and Congress people have been working together to try to eradicate the problems that we have, to make sure that they are back in society and have decent jobs. I appreciate the people in this community that have looked to me for leadership to place some of these people in job situations now that have worked out. So I can't tolerate them blocking up the street, and I can't tolerate them doing things unsavory like gambling and having their trunks open and passing out beer and liquor. I'm not with it 100%. So
Absolutely.
she is doing a phenomenal job with our children, and she reminds me a little bit of the younger version of Bobby H. Grace, but you knew it was coming, yes. But, you know, we have to be on one accord, and at my tender age of 37 right now, I just want to have things work a little bit differently. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Vice Mayor, sorry.
Chief, last year when we did the National Walk to School event at Collins Elementary, the National Walk to School sponsored program by the Broward Public Schools and the MPO is Wednesday, October the 10th. If you can, like we did last year, we did the Walk to School program, and then we did what did we do, a backpack giveaway after that?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so, you know, October the 10th, Wednesday, about 7:30 in the morning, I'll be out there with some others. There'll be other representatives from the MPO, so whoever wants to come, join in, have breakfast, meet the kids, come on.
That's 7:30 a.m.?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what time we go to bed.
We'll stretch that to 7:45 just for you. Well, we got to get kids in on time, and this is the way to do it, so thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Good job, Chief.
Hello.
Good evening. Good evening
Good
to all.
evening.
Sean Brown with BSO Fire Rescue. I don't have anything to report on this evening, unless you all have anything for me.
No.
Okay.
Just want to remind you that you did receive the invitation, well, you can tell I was up at 6 this morning, right? From the Northwest Bird Point Civic Association for our meeting to give us some updates on this year's preparation for storms and hurricanes.
Yes.
Okay?
We'll be there.
Thanks,
you.
Sean.
Have a good night.
Consent agenda. Do we have any pulls?
Make a motion.
With the
Second.
7.9 is an ordinance I have to read separately.
And I wanted to
Exception
pull
7.9.
7.9. Just to speak, I just wanted to be on the same page.
Motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7.9.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ordinance is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 17 entitled Offenses Miscellaneous of the City Code of Ordinances to create Article 13, Prohibition of Distribution of Plastic Straws, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date. It's the first reading of this ordinance. The Commission, you'll need to give us a date you want this to begin. Typically, other cities that have done this have given the different facilities and restaurants, convenience stores, a period of between 3 and 6 months so they can change their vendors to get different straws.
Okay.
So whatever date you pick, 6 months or whatever before it becomes effective, but it gives an opportunity for us to communicate the ordinance to the people who it will be affecting.
Okay, I pulled this because I remember having a conversation at the last meeting that we said it was going to be the intercoastals and east of A1A or all of Federal Highway, east of Federal Highway.
It's designed for anything east of Federal Highway.
Anything east of Federal Highway. That means the Chinese restaurants.
That's not, I'm sorry, Mayor.
No, that means any restaurants, no matter if it's on the waterway or not, that is east of Federal Highway, and any restaurants that are west of Federal Highway that are on the waterways. I just wanted to be very clear before you pass this.
Okay, well, let me just ask a question. It's only going to affect restaurants east of Federal, so it won't include anything on Federal. It says east of it.
East
If you
of Federal,
wanted to,
except for
anything
our
adjacent to.
schools, and it doesn't
Right.
apply
won't
to our
include
schools and medical
So
facilities.
it won't affect Federal Highway itself, restaurants or stores, and it's any place that is adjacent to water, including the Atlantic Ocean, any place in the city adjacent to water will be affected as well.
So is it just restaurants, or are there
It's any
stores
any place
as well?
any place that distributes, which means sells, gives.
So what happens to Publix and Walmart and being able to purchase those straws there? how does that work? This is why I was pulling it, because we have 7-Eleven, we have Publix, we have Walmart, and we will have to, I'm just not sure which direction we're going. I'm fine either way, I just want to be clear and on one accord, because if we pass this and then they get a, something saying that we can't, I just want to know what our rights are.
Well, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about Publix, and it's probably the only big store left over there that would.
Publix, Walmart.
Walmart too, yeah.
Yeah, Publix and Walmart.
Let me take a look at what other cities have
Yeah,
done. I'm not sure that
Dollar
they can prohibit the large vendors like that from doing it. I don't know. We'll have to take a look before second reading.
Okay, Commissioner Salvino?
Yes, Mayor, I thought that when we discussed this, I didn't realize it was anything other than waterway restaurants. We first started off with the 2 restaurants that were on the beach, and that's where we started. Then we progressed to
again.
up the waterway, the Dania Cutoff Canal, and any other canals that connect to that with restaurants. I don't remember going to the stores or anything east or west or whatever. I thought it was just all waterways that were there. That's what I thought we had discussed.
That's why I pulled it.
Okay. And that's what I, and that's.
If that's the intent of the commission,
yeah.
I can amend it before second reading.
Yeah, I think that's.
So
what
it
we
won't
need to stay
affect the
is just
stores.
the waterways for right now, because until we review like Publix and stuff like that, I think you have a hard time pulling it off a national chain. I'm not sure how it works.
Yeah, then you're probably right about that. Okay, I'm going to amend it for second reading to only apply to things adjacent to waterways anywhere in the city.
That's right.
Restaurants,
Let's-
whatever they are.
Any restaurant that's adjacent, right?
Okay, restaurants,
Let's get a
nightclubs.
consensus of what everyone wants to do, because 2 seconds ago, we were all okay with passing this. I just want to make sure everybody is on the same page.
Well, I knew he was going to read that.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yeah, what does that mean by persons who are disabled
That
can
you
have
can-
a plastic straw? I'm seeing service dogs all over the place. And, no, but I'm just saying that they're going in everywhere and eating off plates and everything else in restaurants in Las Olas, I see it. So what do they gotta do, carry a card? I don't understand what it says, persons who are disabled
No, it's very
who
strict.
need such straws are also exempted. I don't understand that.
It's going to have to be a case-by-case basis, you know.
Poor code enforcement.
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone
It's
is going to
it's
call
not the
photo of
person.
somebody drinking
It's
a
for
straw.
the people that distribute to the person who requests it. So otherwise, they won't be allowed to have it, and a
So
disabled person.
If I go in a restaurant and say, I need a straw, they can't question where I'm disabled.
That-
They just have to give it to me.
That would be correct.
That defeats what you're trying to do.
Well, no, I don't think people are going to do that, so.
It is defeating it. Everybody's gonna say, I need a plastic straw.
It won't be available, that's the point.
This needs
Other
homework.
than,
The mayor's right. This needs an awful lot of homework, because it's saying exemptions will be prepackaged drinks.
Capri Sun.
Yeah.
those are the juice boxes where they have straw attached to
Medical
it.
and dental facilities, that cracks me up, because to the mayor's point, right across the street is a big dental facility, and they use tons of plastic there.
If
So
we,
you can't tell them not to use it.
if we do what Commissioner Salvino says, it won't
So-
affect any of these things.
Oh,
So what
okay.
we.
It'll
so
only
what we-
affect restaurants.
So what we originally discussed last week, the last commission meeting, was just the restaurants.
Yes.
But then when I went into detail and read this ordinance, it said all east of US 1. So.
From the Midlands.
No, so I just wanted to make sure that we understood what we were voting on before we vote on it,
Bring
because.
it back
Thank you.
for ticket, Tom.
So we need to get direction from everybody, or a consensus of what we really want this ban to say. If y'all want to ban it all in the city of Dania Beach,
For ticket and bring it back.
tweak it until what?
Well,
So
we could-
or do we want it just restaurants? Do we want to include the stores? Do we want to, what do we want?
You gotta
Up
start
to
from
us.
somewhere in order to start this, but
Restaurants.
like I say, the dental place over here, they only use plastic. Why would you?
So do you all want to just do it at the restaurants for now?
Mayor, I agree with that.
I think that you're right, that we
Yeah.
should do it for the restaurants for now and start there like they're doing in Hollywood. I think they're, am I right, ma'am?
If it's
Yes,
yes,
she-
it's
she'll
if
tell
it's
you.
a movement, I think that we have to get our residents accustomed to certain things,
Sure.
and then gradually change things instead of
Agreeable.
changing
I agree.
so much at one time, because we're going to get a lot of hate mail.
Yeah, but this will be restaurants adjacent to water only, right?
That's right.
Correct.
Okay, that's what all,
Yes,
it'll
for
say
now.
that.
Now,
And how much
yeah.
time are you going to give
You
them
can,
to
you can always,
perform?
that's the next question I have. How much time do you want to give
So
them?
you want to give them 3
3 months?
6 months?
That's too long, Marco.
Okay, well, that's just my opinion. Pick what you want.
They
Okay.
can't learn in 3 months.
So
they have to learn in
what is
6.
your opinion, Vice Mayor?
Since we're almost in September, I would do it by the end of the year. That would give them 3 months to use
4
their
months.
supply
4
and then
months.
start in the new year.
September, October, November, so it's 4 months.
Okay, so by the end of the year,
Yeah.
what do you, Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Sure, like he said.
Sure.
By the end of the year? Okay, Commissioner Grace, by the end of the year, okay.
For January 1 of next year.
Okay.
Same thing, okay.
Vice
It-
Mayor,
it'll
your
come
light
back
is
second
on.
reading.
That's it? All right. So do we have a, so we don't need a motion or
We don't need
anything
a
on that, right?
motion, because he's gonna bring it back.
We do need a motion to bring it back
Oh, you do?
as amended for
So
second
moved.
reading.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's go to public hearings.
One, even though this will be deferred again to the 9/11 meeting, I will read it in case anybody is here. It's an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Section 27-4 of the City Code of Ordinances dealing with procedures on change of ownership or occupancy of premises, amending Article 27-6 of the code dealing with authority and grounds for discontinuance of service, amending and renaming Section 27-9, such section as cross-connection control and backflow prevention of the City Code of Ordinances, amending 27-20 of the code of dealing with the turning on and shutting off of service connections, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date. It's a second reading. It was continued from the July 24th commission meeting, and we're asking that you can defer it again until September 11th for a couple more changes that need to be worked out. So, unless there's anybody here for a public
This is
comment.
a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this? Do we have a motion to continue this to September 11th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
9.2, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the expenditure of city funds exceeding $1 million for a C-51 reservoir capacity allocation agreement for services to be provided by Palm Beach Aggregates LLC, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date. Second reading of that ordinance.
This is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this?
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
9.3, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 13 entitled Health and Sanitation of the City Code of Ordinances by creating Article 8 to be entitled Textile Recycling and Section 13-135 to be entitled Textile Recycling and Textile Recycling Collection Bins, providing for severability, further providing for an effective date. Second and final reading of this ordinance. There is one change in it. We've removed a provision that talks about other bins that would have to be removed from the city. There are no other bins or competitors
Right.
to the new company, so that's being taken out.
I think the commissioner has something she wants
Yes.
to add to it.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yes. At the Florida League of Cities, you had a booth there. Am I right? All right. And I said we missed a golden opportunity, and I spoke to someone, I don't know if one of you were the guys there, about the fact that since we're looking into all these recycle bins, and you need people to man them with the counting, and I learned a lot from over there at the league. I was wondering if it was all possible. I said to the gentleman at the exhibit, could you please consider hiring from within our city? I saw what they do. I saw how the men go up there. They take out the bags, they count them, they separate them, they have a truck, they throw it in. And I think that it would be a good opportunity for some of our residents here to have a job. And I don't want to miss that opportunity since we're thinking, well, the second reading. And the gentleman says, absolutely, that was his answer. That was number one that I wanted to talk to you about. There is a second one. There's a wasp building a nest that I almost got stung today. I'm going to tell you where, Oakwood Plaza, Oakwood Boulevard. That one thing there, that's all. And I put my stuff in there, and he was right there, and it was not good. So I went in the trunk, and I got a thing and took the thing off there. But there's they got the long legs, a wasp nest at that one bin.
I'm not educated.
But
on wasps.
anyway,
I don't know.
please, we need you to incorporate some of our people in the city with those jobs. It's not a rocket scientist job. Would you consider it? All right.
All right, good.
Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this?
Okay, Bob.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Good job.
9.4, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 28 of the Land Development Code of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Article 115, Industrial Districts, Permitted, Prohibited, Special Exception Uses, and Conditions of Use to address conditions of use for parking facilities, amending Article 635, Site Plan, to address site plan modification regulations, amending Article 675, Temporary Use and Special Event Permit, to create a waiver process for the number of special events per year, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, further providing for an effective date, first reading of this ordinance.
Good evening. Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This is a text amendment to the city's land development regulations. It is first reading. And there's two sections of the code that we're proposing an amendment to. As you know, this is an amendment to our Unified Land Development Regulations. There was a total rewrite in 2010. So this is just another amendment. The first amendment is actually regarding parking for vehicles. It was a previous amendment that was approved by the Commission in 2016. It was inadvertently written over due to slow codification at the Municipal Code Corporation, who codifies our codes, and we were doing so many amendments at the time that we mistakenly overrode it. So we passed it, but then we mistakenly struck it. So we're proposing to put it back, and it talks about, I think the applicant was Park and Fly at the time, to allow stacking of vehicles at their facility, right? So we're going to add that back in as it was previously approved. And then the second amendment is to allow the CRA and city-sponsored special events to exceed the maximum limit of 4 times per year as the code currently restricts. Now this amendment, what we're proposing is that if it's CRA or city-sponsored, they can have as many events as they want. This is similar language to special events in the PMUD and for pari-mutuels. So now we're going to allow the city and CRA initiative activities be as many times as a year, not limited to 4. Those are the two amendments for this for the land development regulations. Because it's in the land development regulations, it went to the Planning and Zoning Board last month, and they recommended approval of the amendments. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yeah. Corinne,
Yes.
I remember one time we were stacked with people in here complaining about these cars that get stacked because of how they're put up, that it made a lot of noise. This is not the same one.
This is not stacking vertically, it's
stacking-
stacking tandem behind each other.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, for a minute there, I
No,
was thinking
it's-
that other thing. We
No.
don't need all that again. Yeah, the hotel wanted to stack. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
And because of the nature of the PMUD, they'll probably have monthly events or
Well-
holiday events, and there'll be more than 4 or 6 in a year because of the nature of the business. And
Well,
the mix.
likely, the planned mixed-use development is Dania Point. It's the only property that has that. And, you know, they have that public plaza area, so I anticipate some programming to go with that. Yeah.
Right.
This is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this?
Move the item, Mayor.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Grace?
Yes.
Commissioner Salvino?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harris?
Yes.
Mayor James?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 6 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the site plan SB 02818 and variances VA 6018, VA 6118, submitted by 811 LLC, a Florida Limited Liability Company, for 3899 Ravenswood Road, identified under property identification number 5042-2909-0350, and located in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, a copy of which is attached to this resolution, providing for conditions, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. Anybody that's going to address the commission on this matter, including the applicant or the public and staff, has to be sworn in. So anybody who's going to speak, would you please stand? Anybody from this, anybody else but you, Corinne, that's it? Yeah, they probably,
Mayor.
correct.
Did we
Did I skip
miss
one?
5, or we're
I
not
did
sure?
skip one. I'll go back to that.
Okay.
You want to go back and do?
I thought I was up too early,
No,
and I probably
no,
missed it.
apparently it was me.
Oh, okay.
Just, let's go ahead and do it, so I already read it, and I'll go back.
9-5, right?
I'll go back to 9.5 in a minute.
It's going to come back to it.
It's tight. It's tight. someone.
Gentlemen, if you're going to speak on this matter at all, I need to have you sworn in. If you just remain standing, swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thanks very much. You can please be seated. Corinne.
Good evening.
Good
I'm
evening.
Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This application is for a site plan approval, and there are some variances that go along with that. The property is located on Ravenswood Road. It has an IROM zoning designation and an industrial land use designation. There are no open violations on the property. The subject property itself is located on the northwest corner of Ravenswood Road and southwest 39th Street. It's pretty much directly west of the airport. The applicant's requesting to construct a warehouse and a warehouse/office building with outdoor storage for the roadway construction company that will be occupying the site. And this is the site. It's all that vacant land that you see. And this is the landscape plan. This is the office and storage building with associated parking for that office building. And the remainder of the site will be reserved for the outdoor storage component of their business. This is what the building elevation, the office elevation will look like. That will face Ravenswood Road to the east. So there are some variances that they're requesting. They're all landscaping in nature. And primarily that is because the majority of the site will be used for outdoor storage. So planting a tree in the middle of the site really isn't conducive if they're going to be storing construction equipment on the site. So I'll go over these variances briefly. The first is to allow one category 1 tree in a terminal island. The Land Development Code requires 2 per landscape island. To allow 1 palm tree per terminal landscape island where the code requires 2. To allow 13 shade or canopy trees, the Land Development Code requires 51 on the site. Wow. To allow 32 intermediate trees, and that's the intermediate trees refer to the size of the trees, where the code requires a minimum of 38. To allow the planting of 14 small trees, the code allows a maximum of 12. To allow 15 palm trees, where the code requires a minimum of 25. Variances are identified in the land development regulations with criteria. The applicant's been able to address how their requests are consistent with these criteria identified in the Land Development Code, and that's part of your application package that you have. Regarding the site plan, the traffic impact statement for the project was reviewed and accepted by the city engineer. The city engineer also stated that the projected PM peak hour trips that's anticipated for the project would not cause significant traffic impact to the adjacent roadways. At staff's request, the applicant has indicated that they've contacted the adjacent property owners with the exception of the neighbor to the south. This, because it's a site plan, did go through the Development Review Committee both in April and again in June. So there's comments from, there are several outstanding comments from multiple different agencies. The applicant is aware of those and they'll be made conditions of the approval. They are listed in the resolution. If you approve that resolution, they will automatically be conditions of approval. With that, that concludes staff's presentation. And I know the applicant's here to represent the project for you and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
No questions.
Do you all want to speak? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Frank Perez. I'm with Perez and Associates Architects. The address is 3045 North Federal Highway in Fort Lauderdale, Suite 46. Excuse me, Corinne, would it be beneficial to put the images on the...
I'm going to refresh.
If you have any questions on the project, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Can we cut? That's So this is your presentation, is the picture?
Yes, the tenant, be a, like you said, a road construction company. They basically handle the large steel plates you see when they're digging roads up so you can drive them, steel, trench covers, those kinds of things. It does not generate a lot of traffic, but they do need the large outdoor areas for the large steel equipment that they have on site. Again, the office space will maintain about 10 to 12 employees total, and the balance will be out in the field with their equipment deliveries and those kinds of things. So,
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this?
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
9.5, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 8 entitled Buildings, Article 1 in general, Section 8-7, fencing requirements for commercial properties under construction, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date. First reading of this ordinance.
Corinne, are you speaking on this one? Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, sorry about that. This is another text amendment. Unlike the first one that we did, this is a text amendment to the to the Code of Ordinance, not the Land Development Regulations. So this is affecting Chapter 16, I believe. The zoning code is in Chapter 28, which is the Land Development Code. That's when it requires a recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Board. This is outside that, so it's only the City Commission. So this is the first time this item will be heard. But it will be to the Land Development Regulations. I'm sorry, Chapter 13 is where this regulation stands. And it's addressing the construction fencing, the screening on construction fences. So the intent of these changes that's being proposed is to make the regulations more flexible and user-friendly than the existing regulations that we have. In addition, the changes will also allow the city's new city logo to be utilized on some of these graphics for the screening. So the changes that are proposed are as follows: to reduce the project rendering and information coverage required from 100% to 75% on roadways for arterial and state roads. We're also reducing the required rendering and information coverage on local road 100% down to 25%. Some of the elements, some of the additional eliminations that we're doing is we're proposing to eliminate some of the that's required today. We're proposing to eliminate or make elective, that they can provide it if they like. And that includes project name, members, and companies, including the architect, planner, manager, lending institution. Today, all of that information is required, and we're going to make that optional. It also adds, as I stated, we also adding a requirement that they provide a rendering of the project, as well as address, contact information for the development. And as I stated before, it'll allow the use of the city logo on their screening graphics if approved by the City Commission. So the way we anticipate that is when they site plan approval before you, that they would ask for the permission to use the logo at that time. So they wouldn't have to come back separately to ask for that. These changes are at the request of the development community. We've had some difficulty trying to enforce all of the regulations. There's been a little bit of resistance. So it's in response to that, as well as the CRA has noticed some of this frustration, and with this use of the city logo, they've come to incorporate the use of the logo as well. This does require 2 public hearings because it is an ordinance, so this is the first reading. And we're recommending approval of the ordinance.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
In Part C, it says no part of the fence covering may contain advertising or sales information. What if it's a condo, or if it's an apartment or something like that, where they're trying to get people to stay there? And like I see.
You see, once you start advertising and including pricing and all that stuff, now it's a different line that gets different regulation. But that's why we asked to include the website, so you can still be directed to their sales site. It would just be through a website address.
Okay, so it can't say like coming soon in the low. Like I saw something for Whispering Oaks.
Right.
Just for example, saw something for Whispering Oaks. I don't know if it was a billboard or what type of sign it was. So they couldn't have that, even though it's their project on there.
Right. Right. There is another provision in our code that allows for, like real estate signs. It would be a separate type of real estate sign for that information.
Okay, and the second thing about the city logo, it says as approved by the city commission.
Correct.
Are we going to have to approve the logo and the how it's placed on there? Because only reason why I'm asking this is because I can remember going through the rebranding. Part of the stipulation was the logo can't be used this way versus that way and this color if it's, if it's not going to make the brand look good. So is there going to be someone reviewing and approving these banners that has the city's logo on it?
Yes, yes. They're going to bring the rendering, as we anticipate, as part of the site plan to have you, the commission, approve it.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a question. I'm sorry I didn't push you.
No, that's okay.
Unless I'm reading it wrong, it says that they can have the approval to use the logo. I thought that we were changing that we were going to require them, if they were doing a construction site, that when they put the fence up, they were required to put the logo on.
Commissioner, we have looked into that. We cannot obligate a developer to do that.
Okay.
So we've written in such a way that we encourage them to do it, and that's the intent.
I got you. Thank you.
Okay.
By the way, I have clarification there, I'm sorry. It's amendment to Chapter 8, not Chapter 13. Yeah. That's the one under buildings, that's why it's in that code.
This is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Discussion and possible action, the beach fishing ban or regulated hours.
This came up as a result of the chief lifeguard on our beach had reported back to the Parks and Recreation Director that he was beginning to experience problems with people who are surf fishing, typically, carrying weapons. They are allowed, people who are fishing, actively engaged in fishing, allowed to carry guns on them if they wish to do it. And that's one of the state laws. Oddly enough, the police chief and I dealt with some people who were testing our ability to whether or not we knew the law. Came to the pier, I think last week or the weekend before, a number of gentlemen with pistols and unloaded rifles, and walked on the pier, wanted admission to the pier, and were fishing. And we thought that was going to be a problem. We had a good police presence. Nobody was disturbed by it. But they are allowed to do that if they're actively engaged in fishing. So what came up, I was asked to look at the code.
Like a regular rifle?
A regular rifle.
To fish?
To carry it. Hunting and fishing somehow go together in the mind of the state legislature. I don't seem to follow that, but I'm not here to question the wisdom of the legislature. So people are allowed to do that. And
Put children out there?
I'm sorry? Yeah. Unfortunately. So here's what can happen. The city ordinance, and it's odd, it has a conflict built in it for some reason. It says, no fishing from the beach. Yet it says in another code section, you can fish, no fishing between 9 in the morning and 6 at night. I'm just trying to get a handle on what you would prefer to do. I hear from people that there are people that do surf fishing when there are not people there, 9 in the morning, and it doesn't cause a problem. Fishermen leave, they like to fish, called surf fishing, and they like to do that. So I'd probably recommend, if I was going to recommend anything, that you allow that part of the ordinance to remain rather than completely ban surf fishing altogether. It's your choice. Surf fishing is when you stand on the sand and you throw the line out and you're catching fish like blue runners, different fish that they catch off the beach.
Well, just thinking off the top of my head, I know a lot of people when they go to fish, they fish really early in the morning, and not just the people that are like on the sand. Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yeah, we should really talk to Danny about that too, if we're going to look into hours.
I've done that. He didn't have a problem, I don't think, with the 9 and the 6 between.
What?
No fishing between 9 and 6. 9 in the
So a
morning.
guy with a gun can go out there after 6?
Yes.
And it's loaded? I mean, it's
He can
on
go-
a magazine in a separate spot?
He can go on the pier anytime.
Good Lord.
You can go on the pier anytime. This is for the sand fishing, or called surf fishing. So we either keep hours or we absolutely prohibit it altogether.
Maybe there's bears out there we don't know about.
Wait,
I don't
you
know.
said either keep hours or prohibit what?
Altogether on the sand. never allow anybody to fish from our beach at any time. I wouldn't recommend that.
So currently, we're not, so what is the third option?
There is no third option. It's either they don't allow them to fish or you give them hours. And the ordinance already does provide between 9 and 6, you can't do it.
That's right.
He's talking about on the beach, not on the pier, correct?
The pier, not affecting the pier at all.
Oh, okay.
Just, it's called surf fishing. You stand on along the beach where the breakers are, and you throw the line into the water.
Commissioner Salvino, sorry.
It's public beach. I think that they should have a right to fish down there, except between 9 and 6 when the public is out there. That's my opinion.
With the gun.
They're going to carry a gun no matter where they come, whether it's there or not. The same issue we have all
I
over.
like those hours too.
So 9 and 6, they cannot fish?
Between 9 and 6, they would not be able to, because the other people are there
They can
with
go north of
children.
the pier onto John Lloyd property if they.
That's correct. They could go
9 a.m.
100 feet north of us and fish at any time.
Yeah. Anything
That's
north of the
correct.
pier, they can do what they.
100, I think
Whatever
it's
you
100
all
yards.
want to do,
Unless the
I
county
don't know
stops them.
enough to make a recommendation. So you said you're
I
okay
just
with
say
the hours,
the-
you're okay with the
the-
hours? Commissioner, you're okay with the hours?
I'm not,
I don't like
I don't
it
know
at
I
either.
all.
don't like the whole thing.
I don't either.
That's why I'm-
It's too, what just happened in Jacksonville, everything else is going on, and then we're gonna have it on our beach. I'm just, Lord help us.
Deanie, they have licenses to carry their gun like you do to, what is going on?
It's,
You don't need it?
I know. Huh?
That's crazy.
What are we doing here? Let's get back on track.
I think we should stick
So-
to the way it is now. It's set up that you.
Be the hours,
The
right?
hours would be the same as they are now.
So there are hours set up?
There are, again, there's a conflict in the law. The law has two different provisions. One says no fishing at all. It's an old part of the law. Another part that was newer said you can't fish between 9 in the morning and 6 at night.
That's the one.
That's the part I would recommend you keep.
That's it. That's what I recommend
that's
too.
what, okay.
So that's when families are there. No
Okay.
fishing would be allowed.
Okay. Vice Mayor, what are your thoughts?
What are you looking at? So we're making a new law is what you're saying?
No, it's the
No,
same rule.
no,
Same
it's
one
not a
we have
new
now.
law. You're-
Okay, we're gonna leave it. So can somebody make a motion?
I make a motion, we keep the same.
Okay, thanks. Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Done.
Yes.
Yes,
3-2?
okay.
Okay. Pass 3-2?
Yes,
Okay, it will come back as an ordinance, by the way.
okay, we can
Okay.
speak more about it then, right?
You can, okay, absolutely.
Okay, we'll
Okay.
do it.
That should be actually different.
All right, the Dania Beach Mental Health Task Force, I placed this on the agenda just because I was asked to approve this myself, and I don't believe in making any decisions by myself, so I brought it to the board. It is, I'll read to you a portion of the email. It says, I spoke with everyone about what building and executing a mental health and substance abuse task force would entail, building a board of directors, an essential plan of action, having monthly meetings, joining all the various department liaisons that will lead each department in what their expected ongoing roles would be. Those leaders will be from police, fire, hospitals, mental health programs, and substance abuse treatment centers. There are many other counties that are seeing benefits from utilizing a task force to combat these challenges and seeing success, such as Palm Beach and others across the nation. Everyone felt that this development could definitely be utilized in Dania Beach. Lieutenant Stallings, I sent this young lady to Lieutenant Stallings to speak with him to see if it was a need here, and it was brought back that said that if this was approved by me, that they would move forward with their participation, but I brought it all to you all to see your feelings on it. It requires no involvement from us. It's a task force. I just know that we, in our communities, we're dealing with a lot of homelessness, we're dealing with a lot of substance abuse, drug abuse, mental health, and this is a task force that can possibly combat some of this. I just don't see how the city to try and prevent certain things.
I'm okay with that.
Does this task force have any power?
Well, it's going to be the leaders are going to be from police, fire, hospitals, mental
so
health
they will.
programs, and so they have more power than I have.
can't hurt
No, can't
anybody.
hurt.
Can't hurt anything.
Okay.
No.
I'm all
Okay.
for it.
It's good.
So I'll
How do
get,
you
in-
feel?
got, yeah, I liked it, but I didn't want to make a decision
Yeah.
without bringing it to you all.
Yeah, that's
Hurt
good.
anybody.
Okay.
Good idea.
Okay, great. And then I wanted to set a meeting date to discuss the city manager selection
Yeah.
for us all. I'm not sure on what works for everyone, but, oh, we do have from Mrs. Narlock over the next couple, the options. Thursday, the 6th, the 7th, or the 11th. And I know the 11th, we also have a commission meeting. So
What day was,
does any one of those days work for you all?
what'd you, 6th, 7th, what'd you say? September?
6th of September, correct.
We have a seniors
Don't
meeting in
work
the
for
morning.
me, or it's our first day back.
Okay, the
Seniors.
6th don't work. Okay, what about the 7th? Does the 7th work for everyone?
I'm good.
September 7th. Yes, does it work for you,
Yeah,
Commissioner
that's
Grace? Does it work for you, Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, any time between 2 and 5, or from 2 to 5, so you want to do it at 2 o'clock on the 7th?
3 hours?
We might not need 3 hours.
No,
This is
we're
just a
not
block
gonna
of
need
time
3
that she's
hours.
going to be here.
Oh, she's gonna come.
She's going to
then.
come.
2 is good with me, ma'am.
Okay, 2 is good with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so it will
From
be.
the letter that we received from her, I think that what we're gonna be looking at now is probably sending it back out again and taking off the 3 people that are on there and go out for,
This
another
letter?
selection. Am I correct?
No.
No.
Okay, all right.
It just says, we left messages and spoke to you recently.
Okay.
They wanted to schedule a date to further discuss the steps, the next
We
steps.
just wanna know where we stand, right?
All right.
Or make a decision. I mean, unless we're going to be doing this forever.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so 2
2
o'clock on the 7th. And the last thing I have for discussion is the budget workshop date.
Can we do that same day?
Yeah, because I'm not gonna keep running back.
We've met with 2 commissioners, and we have the mayor and 2 more commissioners with, which we'll meet with next week. So hopefully you'll set the workshop for after those meetings. I believe they're on Wednesday
Of next week?
of next week. I'm meeting with
The 5th?
you and Commissioner Branda Marty and Commissioner Grace.
Yeah, I have it on here.
You said it has to be after Wednesday.
Well, we
Budget
wanted to
workshop.
meet with you individually before we had the workshop.
Well, yeah,
budget
that's what I'm
workshop.
saying. So we're trying to set a date for the budget workshop.
Can we do it
And
right
your
after?
public hearings are on the 12th and the 18th, so you'd want to meet before the 12th. So sometime between next Wednesday and the 12th.
So what about Thursday? Thursday work for anyone?
Not the
When?
6th?
Thursday, what date?
It's the 6th. It doesn't
No,
work at all?
The 6th and 7th are closed now.
You can't do the 7th after the city manager selection? Or
After 5 o'clock, you wanna do a
No,
workshop?
it's not going to last that long. She's going to come, Renee's going to come here, you're going to make a decision on 3 applicants, and if you don't make a decision on those, you're going to move to.
Oh, okay, I agree then.
And then that should
That's
take about
good.
a half an hour,
Right.
and then
All
we'll
right.
go right into a
I'll stay, yeah.
workshop.
All right,
Same
so we'll
day.
say 3 o'clock.
If it runs late, then we'd have to do it at an alternate
Whatever you
day,
say, Ben.
Same day.
Okay, 3 o'clock on the 7th.
or sooner.
Tom, can you put these on our calendars, please, to someone? Or can you tell Chris to put these on our calendars? 'Cause, there's too many papers for me.
Same day as yours,
Okay, commission comments?
the 5th.
Commission Brandon Marty?
Okay. No, I'm just really happy with that recycle bins and the fact that they will look into hiring our residents. That's all. I'm not, no.
Commissioner Grace?
Welcome, Eric Brown.
I'm sorry.
A lot of work
How?
and a lot of programs, and this city is in the right direction. We have a new Parks and Recreational plans to study for Frost and all of the other parks. We have a really great staff. I'm sure that you met most of them. And so we know that you have the expertise to bring our programs in full swing. So we appreciate you being a part of Dania Beach. You were right down the street, so now you're here. The other thing is to Finance Director and also to the City Attorney and City Manager, CRA Director contract is coming up. She is not really asking for anything additional. I think that we should stick with the 4% that all of the other employees will be getting, and if you guys can start working on that. Okay?
I forgot something.
The 4%.
Yeah, no, I heard you.
Yeah.
All right, wait for the
Only.
new commission.
You what?
Wait for the new commission.
I said you guys work on that, because
we
I
will.
won't, I probably won't. Well, I probably will.
We'll bring it back before you
Yeah.
leave, yes.
Okay.
All right, Mayor.
You want to cut her
I
off?
missed something.
You want to wait till she finishes, or you want to?
I'm finished.
Oh, Commissioner Brandon Marty.
I'd be amiss if I didn't thank Akeem. He came through with flying colors, and I forgot, okay? He's finished the IT Parker Community Center. I went in it. It's fresh in it. It looks so good, and I can't wait till the members see how wonderful it is. He did a great job. Akeem really did a great job. So you have a wonderful person working with you, Mr. Brown. So congratulations on both. Thank you.
One other thing I forgot, we asked before we took the break, the long break that we just had, that Finance and the City Manager and sent out an RFP for the auditing department. Is that going along fine? Or Nikki, you want to tell us where we are with that and how far out you are?
What was this about?
For the auditing or the financial services?
Yes.
I signed the financial services contract, so it is taken care of.
For the audit RFP, we do have the draft RFP done now. I'm making the tweaks to it. I hope to have it finished probably, hopefully, over the weekend, so we can get it to the city attorney
So we'll be
for
on
Monday.
the next agenda?
Well, no, it doesn't need to come to you on the agenda. What we're looking to do is hopefully have it done and to the audit committee, have meet to do like a final approval, and then it'll go out to bid. So we're hoping to get that
so
done.
it hasn't gone out to bid yet?
Right. So we're hoping it'll be done within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and then we'll have the bid opening, and hopefully the actual item will come to you for approval no later than the second meeting in October, depending on the timeline.
Before, I'm walking out the door.
We're working to try to get it done by the 2nd on October, but we've had a 2.5 month lag waiting for the Auditor General's letter to come back. So, but we should have the final document here hopefully in the next week.
Can I ask a question on that while you're up here?
Yes.
Why does the commission come back to decide the auditor for the city and not the financial services for the city?
Because the financial services contract is just a retainer that we pay for a financial advisor. It's $6,000 a year, is what which is under the city manager's threshold.
And you all made me promise I would have it done before I left, so.
It's really an advisory
I'm
capacity.
saying like how the
Well,
policy
one is governed by Florida statutes, the other is not.
Okay.
The auditor has to come to the commission by Florida statutes.
Can the other one
regardless of
come
the
to
amount.
the commission as well?
Well, under our normal city ordinances, anything under $25,000 goes to the city
I
manager.
think the retainer was what, $6,000?
It's $6,000 a year. It's
6,000.
$1,500 a quarter.
Okay, so that doesn't answer my question. So it cannot come to the city commission is what you're saying?
It's not required to at this point, no.
No, I'm not.
No, typically
I'm not
it
asking
would-
if it's
Typically, it would
required.
not.
It does not
It's
come
not
to the
no.
commission.
It does
Can
not.
we
The
change
commission can
that?
certainly
Let
do
me ask a
anything
different
they
question.
like.
Can we change that?
It's up to you. I mean,
If the commission
wants to.
Commission wants it despite
change it.
5,000, it can ask for that, sure.
Sure. I mean, our ordinance states anything under 25 is done by city manager, anything over 25 it comes
No,
to
I'm
the
not
commission.
speaking about for every specific thing. I'm just talking about things that are financial services or our financial advisor or our auditor or things like that that's really pertaining to objectives and goals that we're trying to reach. And so it's going to have to be people that we're reaching out to because I'm going to start really having meetings with them myself. And so it's just a question that I'm looking into.
Yeah, you can do, the
Okay.
commission has the discretion to do whatever they want to do.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Grace, are you finished? Your light was on. Commissioner Brandon
well,
Marty?
I'm sorry, it's
Your
still
light was
on?
on? Okay, Vice Mayor's light is next. Your light is next after that.
Who's?
Are we talking on the subject, or are we going down for comments?
We're on the same subject.
Okay.
Nick,
Hi.
on Tuesday, July the 24th, in the minutes from the last meeting, Commissioner Grace instructed that we get this done ASAP.
Yes,
And here we
correct.
are a month and more later, and it's still not done?
Yes.
Why?
Because the RFP document that you're asking us to draft, which we have drafted, I said is draft form, it's a complex document. This document's probably 45 pages long. So it takes a lot of input and a lot of review to make sure that we have everything incorporated. This is something that's going to be done. Like I said, we're on the final draft review. It should go out to bid here in a couple of weeks. Once that's out to bid, we need at least 2 weeks for people to respond, and then we'll do the review. It's a very specific process to it.
And when the audit starts,
Well, the audit's going to start, we're asking that the audit start in November. Most of the people that are going to be bidding know that.
That should be done ASAP as I asked for.
What we're doing, but please keep in mind that there's been a delay because we had to wait for the Auditor General's opinion. So, you know, it's something, you know, with all due respect, we've tried to work with that, and,
Well,
you know,
wait,
having.
Wait. At the last meeting, you said you had it ready to go out, and here we are a month and 4 days later, and it hasn't gone out yet?
I did
What
not
kind of
say it was
turnaround-
ready to.
Are
I
you sure
said-
you'll be able to get that turned around by November?
Yes.
Like, what's the date certain for something like this? I mean,
We didn't even have,
that's
up
a
until.
long time to prepare a document that's only 45 pages long.
and I've got
Seriously,
that somewhat
seriously.
confused with the other, because I believe you had asked also for the financial services. That's the one that I said was just signed.
Not acceptable. Really isn't. Very disappointed.
I feel if it's being done careful and right, it's fine.
Careful is good. Timely is not. It's not.
Okay. Are you finished? Yeah. Commissioner Savino,
My turn?
if you want it.
Yep. I just wanted to say that I had a good time at the Leagues of Cities with all of my colleagues there. I feel like we've learned a lot. We spent 4 days at the Diplomat, off and on, to learn a lot about home rule, which is signs I brought back from there, and a variety of things. And I want to welcome Eric Brown. Eric and I have a history from my bike shop in Hollywood. He would come in here quite often for many, many years, and always did a great job in Hollywood, and we're glad that. That's all I have to say, Mayor.
I forgot, we were Vice Mayor.
Welcome, Eric. Nice to meet you. Last week at the League of Cities, we talked about some new youth activity programs. Commissioner Grace and I were in the same meeting. When there's one, it's called Socks Giving, because they find that people that are homeless and in homeless shelters, the one thing that they want the most is a socks. So with additional retailers moving into the city this holiday season, Walmart were able to get anything that they have in any of the other stores for a socks giving project, which I think is kind of beneficial. And they also had, and we'll get more information on this from the Youth Activity Council, is Blessings in a Backpack.
Yes.
So we'll get more information on that, and so those are some new programs that we might be able to institute in addition to what we already do. The wage and cost study, is Colin here?
Yeah, it's on the report tonight. It'll be
Okay.
done September 1st.
Okay,
It's taking ridiculous.
and that's
And we'll be bringing it
it's
to you.
taken like 9 months to
Well,
get that done.
you know, that, sir, is a consultant, and they're the ones who prepared that information. We didn't do the study. It was done by Evergreen. But it's almost, it's really essentially completed at this point, and needs to come to the commission for approval.
The results of the study need to come to the commission for approval?
Yes, sir, you have to review it. And it'll be approved by the commission.
That's it.
Okay, Brad, can you come up for a second, please? I would like to know more about paving of the parking lot at the beach. We have like zigzag lines, lines going slant, lines going straight, and it's just not effective. And we have been asking, or I had been asking to get it repaved. I just want to know the status on that.
Yeah, we've gotten prices on that, and we're trying, because of the, again, when the bidding threshold on something, $25,000, typically we have to go out to bid. We are trying to see if we can use one of our, I'm sorry, we can try to see if we can use one of our contractors that does that kind of work, if their contract completely falls under that. But the ballpark pricing of that project is, you know, well in the neighborhood of a couple $100,000. And
Okay.
then I have to just work out the, you know, financial aspect with, you know, finance on that. But that's what we're looking at right now.
Can we forego, how long will it take if we forego the?
I mean, if we forego it and I brought something back to the commission in the first meeting of September, there's a pretty good chance by the end of September, October latest, it would be done. It won't take that long. It's just the, you know, you have to ask to waive the
And
competitive
if we go out
process.
to bid, how long would it take
3-4 months.
to go out to bid first?
Correct.
Is there support here to forego the bid process just because it's just repaving of the beach parking lot mess?
It is bad.
It's really bad, and it doesn't go with our
Brad, you like
brand,
that?
and I get a
Brad,
lot
you
of.
okay with that?
It's not about how
Yeah, I
much
mean,
you can
I'll
save.
bring something back to the commission in, at the first meeting in September, but it's in, I think it's in the ballpark of a couple $100,000.
It's gonna get done one way or another, it's how timely it can get done.
I'm all for it.
5 months of our beach looking like that, or do you want another, you know?
Okay.
Okay, so please.
So how would it be done through, you're saying
I
through
don't know.
quotes?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Bob.
Through quotes, you're saying, rather than?
Yeah, we'll use it, sorry. Whoa. It'd be through, you know, quotes, correct.
So just for clarity for the commission, because you're asking us to do it, it wouldn't be done through bidding, it would be done through quotes.
Correct.
Or a piggyback contract with someone else.
That's fine.
Correct.
Correct.
Your judgment, Brad.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
I forgot to mention when we were meeting with County Administrator Bertha Henry, we were speaking about a program that Broward County currently does for ex-offenders, that if they go through this program, I think they do it in conjunction with the OIC, is that correct? And they stay the course for like 6 months, they're able to apply for certain jobs within the city, as long as they've successfully gone through this program. That I don't think the municipalities pay for it. I think it happens with the OIC. I don't have a lot of information on it other than that, other than I am going to be working with Raquel to try and get this program off. And then I could bring something back to you all to see how it better pertains and how effective it could be. I have an issue, and I'm sure some of you all may have heard about it or may have not heard about it, but the morale in our departments, and I'm going to say it again, is horrible. And I am not going to be in favor of any department heads bullying or threatening any of our employees, and especially using any of our names to help do that. And it speaks on the leadership of this commission and this administration that we are allowing this to happen. We have people that are ready to go and file lawsuits against us. We have people that are ready to go and file complaints to the state. And so I just want to be very, very clear. This is unacceptable behavior from any of our department heads to act in this manner. We are not creating hostile environments for our employees and our staff. So I just want to make this very clear on the record. Something needs to be done, and fast, because it's unacceptable. Commissioner Grace?
Do we not have the same mechanisms in place as we do for our general employees, that through the city manager, if something like this happens, it will be one, the first thing will be sit down and talk to that person?
The mayor and I
Would be a
discussed it.
warning and then suspension and then dismissal?
And we're
Through
looking
the
at
city
the,
manager only, not through us?
yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
I believe in a way. Instead of opening your mouth and complain, put it in writing, and then I'd follow through. But just to have somebody mad at somebody because they don't like them and they're able to get a few others to agree with them, no. Let them put it, their mouth where money is, put it in writing, then bring it to us. That's the way a union works, and that's the way it works with our regular employees here. Shouldn't be any difference between the regular employees and the department heads.
I agree.
Tell the person, put it in writing. I want to read it.
Well, that's fine. We prevented them from filing something against the state, and this wasn't something that a single employee came and told me. This was something that happened, and it was loud enough for a lot of employees to hear. So this wasn't something just calling to complain, and this wasn't something that was against an employee. This is against someone who works for Broward County who's protected by the statute. We all need to be careful before some of us are sitting in jail. And that's what I'm saying. If this was a regular employee that this had happened to, that regular employee would have been fired a long time ago. I just don't want to make special exceptions on how we are disciplining our regular employee or our department heads. We have to have a level of excellence in our entire city. And if you don't want to maintain that level of excellence here, you all need to find somewhere else to work, because we want all of our people that are working here to be comfortable in a working environment. And that's all I have. And I want to congratulate Andrew Gillum on winning the Democratic primary candidate for governor. Look at that, David and Goliath.
Wow.
And Jim, did you win yet?
It's not over yet.
And Jim Silvernell is in a really close race right now. And so that just tells you what hard work can do.
Chicky knows all about that.
Yeah, they go runoff.
It ain't fun to be that close.
Jimmy would run off.
Appointments.
I don't have anything.
Me either.
Do we have to make a motion for that?
Well, you got somebody needs, the pension board.
At some point in time, we're going to have to fill this. It's been like how long has it been, 2 years? It's been since I've been elected.
This was a resignation a couple months ago.
This has been on our thing.
And you should have all received a
Somebody
board
said
member
they
interest
wanted
form.
it, and
Yeah, for a fellow named Andrew Dyke, for your consideration.
Somebody applied, thing in my box,
Okay.
that they were interested, so.
That wasn't for that, though. It's right here.
No,
Who
it's
got
not
off
the
the
one.
pension board?
Who resigned?
That's Marine Advisory.
Yeah, this is.
That's only when I got my box.
Okay, great. We'll try to tackle this again next meeting.
Yeah.
All right, administrative reports.
Thank you, Mayor. I had told Mr. Brown that I was going to introduce him if somebody didn't beat me to it. Of course, I think all of you have beaten me to it. Plus, I wanted to, anyway, welcome him. I think he's going to take Dania Beach to the next level in Parks and Recreation. I know it took me quite some time. Admittedly, it hasn't taken me as much time to pick the Parks and Rec director as it has for you to find a city manager. But
Good one.
he really did very well in his interview, and I thought I would lose him, but I said the way I got him was through begging and praying, so that he
He's
finally
familiar with
agreed.
that because he's a prayer warrior, definitely.
But I think he'll do a great job. I wanted to thank Hakeem, and Commissioner Brandon already beat me to that as well, but he really stepped up and did a fine job for us during his tenure as the acting director, and I want you to know I appreciate everything that he did. So we'll get ready and do these budget meetings, and then we'll have our workshop, and you have 2 public hearings. You've got, I guess, 6 meetings in September, so you're going to have a busy month. And that's all I have.
City Attorney.
For the, Josh Gabaton has contacted me, the federal lobbyist in Washington, seeking to renew his annual contract at $41,000, which is the same as last year. All terms would be the same. If you're okay with that, I'll bring it to the next commission meeting.
Okay. Anyone opposed?
To what?
To Josh Gabaton,
The,
the federal
federal
lobbyist,
Oh, he's a good guy.
renewing his contract. Okay, I'll bring that back for the next meeting. Secondly, our public
Hold on
information.
1 second. Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Oh, no, it was past him. I was asking if, what I want to know, Mayor, is we haven't heard a thing in forever from Ron Book. And I was wondering, I know we pay him, but can we at least hear a word on what he's got to, about what we're paying him for, like the airport?
I'll reach out to him and see if he can
Thank
come to
you.
the next meeting.
Most of his reporting is during the session, I believe.
Oh, that's right, I think that's in September, right?
But we'll.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
reach out to
September.
him.
Okay.
Secondly, Katya Bordy, our public information officer, has asked me to advise the commission that there's a statute that says our new logo, any of our logo or our seal, cannot be used by anyone without your express permission, oral permission, where you approve that somebody uses it. So, for example, the Dania Dolphins, I think that's a program, pretty much, right? And they want to use it, but their booster program is not. So anybody that's involved with the
We have
booster,
the
you'd have to
booster-
give them permission tonight. You can do it by motion to use the city seal if you want to do that.
I
The
can't put 'em on
seal?
my
The-
sneakers.
We don't need the seal. The
boo-
seal and the
the
logo are
booster-
two completely different things.
Either one, either one.
Oh, either one.
Either one.
They have a brand, so the Dane Beach Dolphins has its own logo.
Its own
so
logo, so it's not.
Correct.
Okay.
So I won't be able to put those on my new sneakers?
The Dolphins you can, but you're sitting on a cowboy
The new
pillow.
logo.
Oh.
And otherwise, she also reports that a number of city employees have their different blogs and things are using the city logo or seal, and they're not allowed to do that, and I'll have to give them a memorandum. They can't, unless you give them permission. I don't think you're going to give that to regular employees to do privately.
So who's,
I don't know who the people are. She just said
because I know
a number.
she reached out to me and asked me if Joe knew about the Booster Club's Facebook. I told him I don't know, but any flyers that were made by the athletic director, who's also an administrator on that Facebook page, and he understands anytime he puts that on it, it has to go through approval process.
Okay,
So I'm not sure who she's speaking about.
okay, that's all I've got.
All right, City Clerk.
Just a few meeting reminders. On Friday, September 7th, now at 2 p.m., you have a special meeting regarding city manager selection, followed by a 3 p.m. budget workshop. Tuesday, September 11th at 5:30 is a CRA board meeting, followed by a city commission meeting at 7 p.m. And then Wednesday, September 12th at 5:01 is your first budget public hearing. Thank you.
Gosh. Commissioner Brandon Marty, you finished? Okay. All right, well, meeting adjourned. Good night, everyone.